And so, it begins. Dark were the skies and chill was the wind as the land was covered in a veil of malice. Across the hill did ride a dread army of the night, cloaked in mist and fog, prepared to rain down death and destruction upon the land. And the people cried out for a savior, a noble soul to save them from their impending demise. Just as it seemed all was lost, in strode a mighty hero, clad in shimmering metal from head to toe. Wielding a terrible broadsword, he did cleave his foes in twain, smashing their ranks asunder with a righteous fury. And when the day was done, and the enemy strewn across the fields in pieces, the people did turn to the warrior and say, "We shall name this day in your honor. Speak unto us your wisdom." Slowly the warrior turned to face the assembled crowd. Lifting his sword on high, he said but one word that day. One man, one Murloc, one giant angry badger. This is Blue Please. It begins now.
Yes, indeed, folks. Welcome to Blue Please right here on CynicalBrit.com. The date today is, in fact, the 4th of June, 2011. The show was delayed by one day because I was really damn busy yesterday. Not that I'm not really damn busy today, but I'm slightly less damn busy. Things got very hectic yesterday. A lot of stuff had to be sorted out in a very, very short period of time. It was done, thankfully. Oh, God. I think I'm still tired from that. I think I maybe got to bed at about 6 in the morning. Ugh, Christ. Yes. I'm hoping that if my sleeping schedule keeps going this way, that I'll be on a really reasonable sleeping schedule in the next few months. I could go to bed at 6, and it's like, yes, I could maybe reverse it round, but it's going to take some time. No, it's a terrible idea. Don't do that, folks. It's awful. Stupid, incredibly stupid thing to do. Oh, well. Okay, folks, so, what's going on in the show today? Well, there will be an announcement coming very, very shortly. Fairly important. Pretty damn awesome, hopefully, for a lot of people. What else is coming? Well, we can talk a little bit about a certain flying lion. It's probably a good idea. It's not a very good flying lion, is it? Oh dear. And also talk about a little bit about DDO. Got back into that. Some of the lessons that WoW could learn from that. The idea of perhaps casual satisfaction done better by DDO without sacrificing the integrity of the game. Yes. What a bizarre idea that is. It can be done, however. Needless to say, your chance to contribute to the show will become available. It is the one and only. It's the illusion of choice. It's a lazy feature. You can contribute to the show by emailing in themurloc@gmail.com. That is themurloc@gmail.com with the subject line illusion of choice. And if you have a good topic, I shall cover it at the end of the show. We're doing mail in probably the next segment, I think. I don't know. It depends how long this announcement takes. Haven't timed it out, so we'll see. Maybe, maybe not. Well, I suppose I better tell people, shouldn't I? Yeah, why not? Well, but just make the first segment the announcement segment. As well let people know what's going on. So, folks, this is what's going to be happening. I shall be going to DreamHack Summer 2011, which is in 2 weeks' time. 17th through to the 21st, I believe. I'm going there for several reasons, one of which I'm not allowed to talk about yet. I will, needless to say, announce that when I'm allowed to say what it is. It's actually kind of annoying that I can't say what it is, because it's really cool, but I can't talk about it. But yes, I will be going to DreamHack for 2 reasons that I can talk about. One of them is to commentate Paragon's live raid on stage. So I'll be doing an hour's worth of stage work at DreamHack with Paragon, as in the top raiding guild in the world. And I will be commentating a live raid, which I would imagine is most likely to be involving heroic Firelands, I would think, by the sounds of it. We shall see how that goes. And I'm also going in order to support Nordrasil Radio, who will be broadcasting from that event. I shall be going there to do a few shows with them and help them out. So you will be able to see me there. I will be at the Nordrasil Radio table, which, if I recall correctly, is in the exhibitors area. So I will be around. I will be doing something else there as well for a lot of the time. I can't tell you what it is. I'm not allowed. It's very, very annoying, but I can't tell you yet. But it is kind of cool nonetheless. But yes, you'll know about that when I'm allowed to say it. So, we'll be doing that, and it should be pretty awesome, honestly. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to meeting all of the Swedes over there. I did say I would come to DreamHack in some capacity at some point, so it seems like it makes sense to do that. Be doing streaming. Lots of streaming, plenty of streaming. And there will, of course, also be VODs available for those who miss it over on youtube.com/Morfar and youtube.com/TotalHalibut. Now, basically, Nordrasil Radio is a fairly small fan site, as you're well aware. It's kind of what WoW Radio used to be like. And they have to pay quite a lot of money in order to get all of this set up. So I'll be going, definitely, and needless to say, I'm not charging anyone for that. I'm just going to go. I can afford it. It's not a big deal. And Nordrasil Radio are kind of lacking in funds at the moment to ensure their participation. So if any of you have a couple of dollars sort of knocking around your PayPal account to donate to Nordrasil Radio's DreamHack Fund to help them out, they are working on sponsorship, and hopefully they'll be able to get that sorted out, but they can't guarantee it just yet. If you do have a couple of dollars knocking around and you would like to donate to their fund, that would be awesome, just to help them out. As I say, I don't need any help. I'm fine. Won't have an issue, but they're obviously on a much tighter budget. So you can donate to Morfar at live.se. That's MORFAR at live.se. Or you can head over to nordrasilradio.com/site/donate. It's nordrasilradio.com/site/donate. And I'm sure they would appreciate very, very, very much that particular donation. So yeah, I shall be at DreamHack, and it should be awesome. Looking forward to it. God damn it, I wish I could tell you about the other thing. Infuriating. Oh well. Hopefully I shall see many of you there as possible. I really, really hope so. It should be good. DreamHack's something I've been wanting to attend for a very long time. Now finally able to do so. Oh, there you go. Right, so that's the announcement, folks. Check out NordrasilRadio.com, check out youtube.com/Morfar, and if you do have a couple of dollars knocking around, please donate to their fund just to help them out. That would be appreciated. It is, of course, a completely volunteer organisation over there. Right, what else is going on this week? Well, those of you interested in StarCraft, I have the second player announcement available for my 8-man invitational, which is going to be happening a week before DreamHack. That will be on Sunday, the 12th of June, so that is in 8 days' time. There are 2 players out of the 8 announced so far, and I'm announcing 1 new player every day for it. And today's announcement was for the one and only Hazuobs, who is our first Protoss player in the lineup. So hopefully people will enjoy seeing him. He's one of my favourite Protoss by a very, very long way. So there you go. We'll see how that turns out. Aside from that, things that are coming up this week. Looking into getting some Terraria sorted out for you in the next couple of days. Shouldn't be too much of a problem. We're trying to crack that. I believe that OMFG, Kato, and Jesse are currently doing a live stream at the moment, which is the reason that we're not doing any recording right now. And I do have a lot of other things to do. I should be doing the streaming for the StarCraft later on. And those of you interested in more DDO footage, again, things I'm working on, things are very hectic. I'm very, very busy. I'm trying my best, but there's only so many things I can do in one day without collapsing of exhaustion. Should be good, however. I think that pretty much covers everything, actually, for the major announcements for the time being. Needless to say, aside from the Paragon Live Raid, WoW coverage isn't happening on the channel at the moment. This show will continue for as long as I deem it fit to. As in, as long as I'm having fun with it, then I'll keep doing it. I think people keep forgetting the amount of times where I've been unsubbed from the game, where I've been doing Blue Please, just because, at the end of the day, Blue Please has been around forever, you know? Blue Please has been part of my gaming career for ages, so it's kind of important to keep doing it, and it's really more of a hobby than anything else. It's not a revenue generator. I mean, we have an ad on the show which helps support the site and keep it running, and that's really about it. So, there you go. Without further ado, folks, I think it's probably time. Yes, I think so. It makes sense. It's time for this.
Mail time.
That sounds like it's mail time. Here's the mail.
It never fails.
It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes,
I want to wail.
It's mail time, folks. That would be the time where we read the mail. Sounds like a plan to me. This one comes in from Alex House that says, I don't think I have that sample anymore. I would like to play the Host of Souls sample, but I don't actually have it anymore. I think the only one I've got is... There we go. That one's still in my sound bank for some reason. I lost all of my other ones. Oh, well, never mind. I will have to rebuild it at some point. Anyway, long time this is the first time right. I want to discuss the issue of Blizzard's current raiding philosophy and my take on what is exactly happening. My argument of the current raiding philosophy is that Blizzard hates multi-tier raiding, and in fact want to push all raiders into the same tier of raiding regardless of skill. I would argue that for Blizzard, the biggest issue with multi-tiered raiding is the gap that begins to open up between the top-end guilds and your average or casual raiders, i.e. in TBC, top-end guilds finished tier 6 content while casuals were still completing tier 4. Although players didn't have an issue with this, Blizzard did, and were aggrieved by the statistics that told them that the majority of players hadn't even seen the top-end raid dungeons. They interpreted this as a bad thing. This brings us to their solution. Blizzard's solution for reducing the gap between high-end guilds and casuals was, of course, only releasing a single raid per tier, with the exception of the opening tier of the expansions, and never releasing multiple tiers in the same patch, therefore effectively stopping top-end guilds advancing to the next tier. This model would ensure that all raiders would have a chance to raid the same tier without a huge gap forming between top ends and casuals. But a problem still remained. How do you ensure that all players will still be able to raid the same tier of content when it's released, if they still lack the skill and gear needed to do so? Enter the badge system, the simple and effective solution to ensure that all and every player can acquire the gear needed to raid the next tier, and at the same time effectively make the previous tier obsolete. The overall outcome is therefore shoehorning players into the new tier of raiding. Blizzard claims that they are now nerfing content in order to ensure that all players can see it. And that's absolute crap. For example, if a new player came in towards the end of Wrath, they were able to grind out the full set of tier 9 gear from running 5-mans, therefore effectively bypassing 3 tiers of raiding. How the hell is that seeing the content? They let people skip over 13 months of development. The only logical reason I could fathom is they wanted more control over the level of progression players and guilds are able to make in the game. And to that extent, they are removing choice from the players. The concept of aiming to have all players progressing on the same content detracts from one of the key satisfactions you get from this game, and that is the unique and special snowflake appeal. People want to be proud of their achievements, and the best way to do that since the beginning of WoW was through gear. If you saw someone in Tier 2 and especially Tier 3 back in Vanilla, you could be in total awe of them as they looked epic. Yes, yes indeed, he did in fact just say epic. In comparison to the current situation where everyone's running around with the same gear and everyone has amazing gear and it's the same thing as no one having it at all, you effectively become a generic copy, and the main reason it's happening is because Blizzard got rid of multi-tiered raiding, and I would argue that's to the detriment of the game. I agree with you that Fireland sounds like a joke. 7 bosses in more than 6 months of development time is pathetic. In 6 months I would want to see at least 2 new raid instances, 4 new dungeons, and additional quests put in, as well as lead up to said dungeons and raids. I was wondering what your opinion on my argument is, and if you think it has any validity. Big fan of the show, and keep up the amazing work, etc. This post was sponsored by Blizzard's No Scrub Left Behind policy, ensuring that even if you are completely terrible, you still get the epics. And as such, those epics are no longer epic, aren't they? It's a nasty little hydra of a philosophy. You can't just cut off one head, because it'll regrow and it's still got two other bloody heads. Assuming it's a three-headed hydra, it could be an even more headed hydra. It is an awful situation. You have people in the community that dare to say, I abandoned Azeroth Daily because I was sick of doing it, and I wanted to use this as an excuse to get out of it. It's like, are you kidding? I get paid for this crap! Besides, if I wanted to abandon Azeroth Daily, I wouldn't then just abandon all WoW content as well. Are you kidding? It's a license to print money! I can go on the PTR for 4 minutes to get 100,000 views of frickin' hairstyles! It's easy money! Here's the thing, I don't want easy money. What I want is the ability to put out content about games that are actually not terrible, and developers that don't have horrible attitudes. And I'm just sick to death of Blizzard's attitude. I really, really am dismissing all of the concerns of people that have actually been playing for a long time. But then you say, oh God. Oh God. But I still play the game, and my name is Lore or whatever, or I am Matthew Rossi, and I still play the game, and I've played for ages, and I love it, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yes, I know, I'm sorry your entire career is tied to WoW, but mine isn't. God, you can't have Matthew Rossi stop playing World of Warcraft, because that's his entire job! It's like, you write for WoW Insider! You can't stop playing WoW, it doesn't matter how much you goddamn despise it! You cannot escape, and I'm very sorry that you're caged into that. I really, really am. But at the end of the day, I'm not. I've got all sorts of things I can be doing. It's good to have variety. It's good to be an omni-gamer. It's good to cover that kind of stuff and actually have people want to hear your opinions on that. It's nice. It's good. But at the end of the day, that's not really the point, is it? The point is that what this guy's actually saying in this email is pretty much bang on. The see all the content is a fallacy. It's a fallacious argument because it becomes the opposite. And you might say, well, TotalBiscuit, that is nonsense! And why is it nonsense? Well, it's nonsense because they could go see the content. It's fine. They can overgear it and they can go see it there. Right. Okay. Again, that's seeing the content. What is your definition of seeing the content? Because I have an alternative. How about, instead of seeing the content, we experience it? How about that? That sounds like a good idea, doesn't it? You want to know why it sounds like a good idea? Because, to me, games are not about seeing, they're about experiencing, and they're about believing. And you might say, well, seeing is believing. Bollocks, not in World of Warcraft it isn't. If I want to see content, I can watch it on YouTube. Doesn't matter. No, I want to experience the content. I want to do the content when it matters. I want the challenge to be present. I want to be the appropriate gear level for that challenge. To me, if I were to say, join in the middle of Wrath, and then suddenly it says, oh, well, you can get free tier 9 by doing this, would I want to go back to Old War? No, I would have no interest in doing so, because, well, there's two reasons. One, as much as people argue otherwise, gear is a powerful motivator. But what's more important is the way that that gear is acquired. It's the same argument as the reward thing in Minecraft. I'd like to apply Minecraft to this argument. You want to know why Minecraft is so compelling? It's not just about the ability to just build anything you want. No. Yes, the creativity matters, but that's not the main thing. The thing about Minecraft, especially survival mode Minecraft, that makes it really matter is the fact that you build things with your own two hands, with the materials you gathered with your own two hands, while fending off evil monsters that tried to stop you from acquiring those materials with your own two hands. There is a massively, inherently worthwhile feeling about doing that. It doesn't matter, from the smallest shelter and shack to the biggest tower castle sculpture of your wang, with great detail, soaring to the skies. It doesn't matter what it is, because you built it with your own two hands. And raiding is the same thing. When you acquire that piece of gear that you've been after for ages, it's because you acquired it with your own two hands. And you worked for it. And you knew it when you got that drop. You knew when that drop came there, that you earned that drop, and that drop to you is worth more than it possibly could be being supplied by somebody else. With your own two hands, folks. And as far as I'm concerned, they can pry that feeling away from me, from their cold, and indeed from my cold dead hands, because I'm just so sick of their attitude. What do they think people are? You know, if I were a customer for Blizzard, which of course I was until a few weeks ago, I would be insulted by Blizzard's attitude. Blizzard says to you, you are not capable of this, and you know what? You never wanted that anyway. And sure, if you're on the current tier, you're fine, but what about the guys that come in later? What about the guys that take a break? What about the guys who actually weren't interested in raiding up until now? What about those guys? Why shouldn't they be able to, with their own two hands, achieve these things? Why should they have it handed to them? Why should they have their intelligence and potential skill insulted by Blizzard? Because Blizzard just believes you want to play the current tier, and you're okay with getting gear easily. In a laborious, dumb, and repetitive way. You're alright with that. You don't mind. You never wanted that experience anyway. You never wanted that feeling anyway. You never wanted that respect anyway. And that's actually a lot of what this is all about. It's about self-respect. As in, I cannot respect my acquisitions if I got them in a way that to me does not feel like I earned them. For God's sake, ooh, well, you can get tier 9 with these, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I didn't deserve the tier 9. Anyone that got tier 9 that way did not deserve it. And to me, it feels cheap. It feels really unpleasant. I don't like it. Not one little bit. I really dislike the feeling, and I dislike the fact that this game is not rewarding to me and doesn't feel fulfilling anymore from an entertainment standpoint. And this big long email I just presented there, pretty much in a nutshell, sums up as exactly why that is. My name is TotalBiscuit. You're listening to Blue Please right here on CynicalBrit.com. I'll be right back after this. It's by Accent Star. It's called Blind Leading the Blind. Enjoy. Yes, indeed, folks, you're listening to Blue Please right here on CynicalBrit.com. Myself, TotalBiscuit. We're going to end up talking about that bloody winged lion, aren't we? Just... why not? I mean, what can we say? Really, not a huge amount has actually happened this week. So, well, you know, you can just go and look at MMO Champion to find out that this week's been relatively quiet. It's like, there has been a preview of the worst-looking set ever, I might add. Hunter's repeatedly getting the shaft on everything, not to mention Tier 12 Hunter looks utterly stupid. I am so sorry, Hunters. I am so very sorry that you had to see that. It's so dumb. I want to block off my peripheral vision. I am a ranged class. I don't need one of those eyes. It's worse than having these stalker sets. Like, I'm going to stalk this dragon. I'm in bright purple gear, because as you are well aware, dragons are colorblind. I mean, what else is there to talk about? The fact that Ragnaros has already been downed on the PTR, yes. That's predictable. And we saw that coming a mile away. Hell, you know, we downed all of the bosses, if I recall correctly, on the beta as well, with the exception of Sinestra. So, once again, not really a big deal. Bunch of hot fixes. Doesn't really matter. Dev Waterghoul on talent trees. There's just so little that's actually happened this week. Oh yes, there's a new Raw remote. Very, very important. /Raw. Shocking, I know. But yes, the big news this week is that the Winged Guardian arrives in the pet store costing $25 US, 20 euros and 17 pounds. Okay, I suppose we can be happy for one thing that they didn't overcharge Europeans, which is something that Steam seems to insist on doing. Aside from that, nothing has really happened. Not at all. Aside from the fact that, hey, BlizzCon sold out again, then they said, oh, we accidentally found ourselves a new batch of tickets, as I recall, saying I think they were going to sell them on June the 8th, if I remember correctly. I have to double-check that one. I don't want to disappoint anybody. June 8th, BlizzCon. Let's see. Yes. Yes, that's benefits tickets. So you can get into BlizzCon with it, but you got to pay $500 because you go into the benefit gig. How did they find additional benefit tickets? What, did they just make the table bigger or something? Hell if I know. An additional handful of tickets have become available. From what? Hell if I know, but there you go. So if you're so desperate to get into BlizzCon that you're willing to pay $500, well, at least you know, most of that's going towards charity, so I suppose it's fairly worthwhile. Then some more tickets will be available for the benefit dinner on June the 8th, but aside from that, BlizzCon is needless to say sold out. I believe it's sold out in about 25 minutes. Which is, of course, the reason that they will continue to raise the prices over and over and over again, because people will keep paying it over and over again. Admittedly, this year's BlizzCon might actually be worthwhile. I'm fairly sure I have an invite, but I don't think I'll be going. Takes up too much time, and plus getting back into the States at the moment for me is a little difficult. Working on it, but still. Yes, the wonders of the US legal system. Some people don't know about that, but I'm certainly not going to go into detail about it. It's not really worth repeating. So, retarded flying lion. It's Mind Flame so blatantly called it. Wonder where they got that idea from. Yes. I would never call one of those store-bought mounts some kind of retarded horse, for instance. No, we wouldn't do that. I don't know why people aren't more angry about it. I think people just don't care anymore. I was mad as hell. And I wasn't going to take it anymore. And I decided, hey, I'm mad as hell, I'm not going to take it anymore. And then I just quit. I'm like, right. Well, what now? A lot of people, an awful lot of people, just don't seem to care that they're doing things like this. Why? Why, oh why do they not care? I do not know. I don't have a clue, folks. Not a clue. But I care. I just like the fact that Blizzard is milking huge amounts of money from something so minor that, in fact, should, and I do mean should, be going into time giving items to people that are actually playing the game and subscribing, not those who are willing to pay the extra. I under no circumstances will agree with purchasing virtual items from World of Warcraft in any way, shape, or form. It's unreasonable. That kind of thing should be available in the game. It should be earnable within the game. Hell, if you're going to go down that route, you might as well go a full free-to-play with optional subscription model, kind of like DDO has. I find DDOs to be less unreasonable. But at least there, pretty much everything that you can buy in the store, you can also earn in-game. That's nice. Like, I'd kind of like this hat. I bought a top hat earlier with turbine points. Admittedly, those points I actually got with my subscription for free, so it's not like I was really paying for it. But hey, it's also a free-to-play game. Different rules apply. It's just hard to get angry about this because it's just the latest in a long line of horrendous changes that Blizzard insists on putting into this game. Oh my. And the sad thing is, people keep buying it. You gotta wonder why Blizzard actually do this over and over again. It's usually because, one, you're not gonna annoy enough people to make them quit. I mean, who is really gonna quit over retarded flying lion? Nobody. It's not gonna happen. People get annoyed by it, certainly, but it's not enough for them to cancel their subscription and say, oh, I'm really annoyed about retarded flying lion. And then thinking, oh, but I put so much time into my character. I just, I don't like what Blizzard's doing, but I can't justify it, but my friends and the rating, and I'm unhappy, but I don't want to quit. It's not an addiction, folks. It's not an addiction, but still, you can see why people would think that way. Don't want to quit. Don't want to quit. And it's fair, really. Can you blame people? I don't think quitting over a retarded flying lion is actually reasonable, honestly. It does represent something. I think if your principles were that strong, then yeah, you should quit over it. For instance, my principles mostly surround raiding and the difficulty of content. And to me, a game like this must be challenging in a certain way, and it mustn't be constantly moving the goalposts. And also, it's like kind of quitting while I'm ahead, really. Because these changes to me represent the fact that Blizzard is giving in on certain matters, and it's only going to get worse. So why stick around? Why give them any more of my money? And yeah, one subscription doesn't matter to them. They're not going to notice, but still, it comes down to principles, doesn't it? And the question is, do you have strong enough principles to say that absolutely everything within this game should be part of the subscription fee? Because I believe that it should, pretty much. Things like faction transfer, things like the ability to transfer to different realms. Those should be part of the sub fee, and indeed, I'm not the only person that believes that. Tryon Worlds believes the same thing with Rift. They are willing to allow you to transfer, and they just have a cooldown on it, and it's like, hey, you know what? You can transfer. An ideal system to me, for that kind of thing, would be transfer on a cooldown, but pay money to reset that cooldown. It's like, well, you can get free transfers, no problem at all, that service is in place, but if you're going to be ridiculous about it, then you're going to have to pay for it. I think that would be a very reasonable thing. I think giving people maybe one free transfer every, say, 1 or 2 months would be a good idea. It would be a very good idea. And they say, well, if you want to transfer again, if you screwed it up, and it's your fault, well, you're going to have to pay it for it. And there you go. Regardless of the fact that this system is effectively free to maintain right now and doesn't require any kind of intervention at all from a person. I know this because I'm pretty sure that the GMs are not quick enough to transfer your entire character in 15 seconds. And I've seen it done. It's all automated these days, folks. Might not have been when it first opened up, but it certainly is now. But people will keep paying for it, and in the case of faction transfer and things like that, and realm transfer, it's essential. So if you were, say, Blizzard, and you turned around and said, well, there's clearly support for our faction transfer system because people keep paying for it. No, they're paying for it in spite of the fee. You know, they need to transfer. So they're transferring in spite of the fee, not because of the fee, and certainly not because they're okay with the fee. It's the lesser of two evils. It's like, what am I okay with? Am I okay with spending $15 to $20 on a service that really should be incorporated into my subscription fee and cost Blizzard absolutely nothing? Am I okay with that, or am I okay with just sticking around in this realm where I'm not having any fun? Yes, it's the lesser of two evils, and sometimes you have to swallow your pride in that regard if you want to keep playing the game. To me, things like retarded flying lions certainly do not help. Why would they? They certainly don't enthuse me about the game. And what annoys me, I think, more than that, is that you do actually have lots of people paying for it. There was a queue on the servers. I kid you not. There was a queue to buy retarded flying lion. Why? Why were people doing this? Cat wishes to leave my room. It's telling me this by clawing my furniture to pieces. Out! Retarded flying cat. Is what's going to be happening in a minute, that I can guarantee. Then the animal cruelty people come along and say, TotalBiscuit, you can't throw your cat around like that. And I say, I do not care. It's a retarded flying cat. To be fair, that's actually what it is, isn't it? It's a lion. Retarded flying cat. There we go. Why not? It also, handily enough, has the same acronym for Ragefire Chasm. There you go. Retarded flying cat. It could have Razorfen Crawl, if you like. Retarded flying kitty. It works. This is your fault. Not specifically you, but it's the player base's fault. It's the player base's fault after they showed Blizzard, without question, that they would pay millions of dollars. $100 million. I can't remember how much this actually made. I need to go and look, because it made a ludicrous amount of money. It really, really did. Celestial Steed. I want to know how much this actually caused. It made huge amounts of money. This is actually like an article here. Is Celestial Steed good value for money? No, you idiot! Why would you even post that? Good lord. Let's see. Aha. It made $2 million in 4 hours. I'm seeing articles here claiming it's made over $10 million. Sellers' numbers indicate total stock of ponies should net Blizzard around 10 million, while Whitaker's estimates range at $125 million total. When they actually ran out of stock of these things. How do you run out of stock in a virtual item? Apparently you can. There you go. Yep, got numbers here. Generates over $3.5 million in 24 hours. The queue for the Celestial Steed on the 15th of April was over 140,000 people. 140,000 people want Sparkle Pony. That retarded horse. And then, of course, there was a big queue for retarded Flying Cat as well. It's your fault. A large number of people, without a shadow of a doubt, declared with their wallets the most powerful declaration that they are okay with this. They are happily willing to purchase this thing. Oh, don't get me wrong, it's got a nicer model, it's got a custom effect than, say, Sparkle Pony did, which was a reskinned Invincible, using the texture from a boss that the vast majority, if not all of them, maybe bar one person, I think I know one Insidia member who's no doubt seen Algernon, and is it Algernon or Algalon? I can never get it right. Who has actually seen that boss, and he has a Sparkle Pony, and you know, we all make mistakes. I'll forgive him for it. But yes, textured with a boss that those people would never see because they're not good enough. And that's what sealed the fate of the game, really, didn't it? I think that's what keeps sealing the fate of the game. The fact that people with a more powerful voice than innumerable threads on the forums ever could will happily turn around and say, we're okay with this. We're alright with it. It's fine. It's not a problem. Here, take my money. Take my money. Take $25 that could have been spent on a good game. Give me this reskinned horse, or give me this flying cat. I'm okay with this. You know what my prediction is? In a month, nobody's riding the damn things. You know what happened with that retarded horse? Everyone in the first couple of days was riding these things, and then people immediately realized, oh god, I look like an idiot. Blizzard's ultimate trolling effort. They made you pay to make you look stupid. And now I barely see anyone on those damn things. So there you go. Congratulations. $25 for transitory glory. Disgraceful. My name is TotalBiscuit. You are listening to Blue Please right here on CircleBread.com. When we come back after the break, talking a little bit about DDO. Once again, lessons that WoW could learn from this particular title. In the meantime, I'm thinking we play some more music. Why would we not, more to the point? Why would we not? I'm going to be a typo negative. I'm thinking, yeah, I'm liking that idea. It's called Life is Killing Me. I'll be right back after this. Enjoy. Yes, indeed, folks, you're listening to Blue Please right here on CynicalBread.com with myself, TotalBiscuit. I sound more enthusiastic. Why? It's because I'm going to talk about a better game. There you go. So, oh, man. Getting back into DDO recently just reminded me why exactly I like the way DDO works. There are so many lessons that WoW could learn from DDO. There really, really are. Turbine's always been pretty good with MMOs. I mean, they made Asheron's Call, which is widely regarded as one of the best early MMOs. They then made Lord of the Rings Online, which is pretty good. It's not my thing, because it's a little bit too much like WoW. Just a bit too much in terms of the mechanics and things like that. There are certainly some things that are different, but it's a bit too much WoW-like. Whereas DDO is just like, you know, actually, we don't care. we just don't give a damn. Don't give a damn. We're just gonna do whatever we feel like. What you gonna do about it? Absolutely goddamn nothing. You'll play our game and you'll like it. And you'll play the game the way we want you to play the game, and you will damn well like it. Oh, yes. And I actually love that attitude. I really, really do. It's like, we're Turbine, we know better than you. Yeah, you're right, actually, you do. Hold on. There you go. So, there are a few things about DDO that I really like. And for some inexplicable reason, they're not putting them in WoW. And then there are some things which actually they probably could never put in WoW, because that's just not the way the game works. So, the thing about DDO, the weird thing about DDO, is that the same thing that really attracts me to DDO, one of them anyway, one of the things that really attracts me to DDO is very, very similar to one of the things that was pointed out in early reviews of World of Warcraft. And that's the idea of the self-contained adventure in the form of the quest. So, the quest breaks down into a very, very simple little framework. And this applies to World of Warcraft, DDO, and all of the games that work this way. A quest must have a quest giver. This quest giver will have a reason for you to take the quest. Going up to this guy and talking to him will have him ask you, I have this problem. And of course it will be always a problem of some description. Maybe big or small. It's always a problem. What is this problem, you say? That he will tell you what the problem is. He will then give you an objective. That objective will always send you somewhere. Once you go to that place, you will carry out the objective. Once the objective is complete, revisiting that quest giver will earn you a reward. In the form of experience. Usually it will give you gold as well. And it, most of the time, not always, but most of the time, will give you a piece of loot. This is the basic framework that questing requires of you. It's really as simple as that. So, what else is needed? What else? Well, nothing. Except the idea of the actual content being interesting. And that's really a big deal, isn't it? Now, WoW has done that successfully with the leveling content within World of Warcraft Cataclysm. In fact, I think that's probably one of Cataclysm's proudest achievements. They have improved the leveling content drastically. It is much better. Still not where I'd like it to be, but it's much better. But I want to break it down all the way back to vanilla and talk about questing and how DDO captures that old style of questing and actually does it in a much, much better way. So, I'm going to try and find the IGN review of World of Warcraft, because I'm pretty sure this actually had what we needed in it. This had the quote that I'm after. Almost surely. I'm going to find it. Let's see. Here we go, yes. I use this quote every time because it's a really good quote. Now imagine an MMO where your experience is a string of quests where you're rewarded with cool item recipe or a decent amount of pocket money, a game where the grind is virtually eliminated, a game where downtime is relatively non-existent, where enemies respawn rapidly and dynamically according to how many players are in the local area. Things like that. Now in this case, that quote isn't entirely irrelevant, but what I just said about questing kind of is. Now, the thing about questing is that questing is a self-contained adventure, and questing is actually what made the game initially very casual-friendly, as it were. Because you could spend 10 minutes in the game, whenever, and you could accomplish something. And there's nothing wrong with that. And it's actually the reason that daily quests continue to exist. Because as laborious and dull as hell as they are, a casual player, and we're talking about the most casual of casual right here. I mean, we really, really are. We're talking about some guy that can maybe log in randomly for like 10 minutes. Which, I don't know, how large is the player base that can only do that? I don't know. I have no idea. There's no way to tell, is there? None. We'd have no metrics on this. So, questing helps those kind of people, but the thing about DDO is that it takes the concept of a self-contained adventure, and it goes nuts with it. It's like, well, so WoW has self-contained adventures in the form of quests. You can do a quest, and you've just gone on a mini-adventure, and you get rewarded for it, and it ties it up nicely, you know? I think that's kind of the main thing, isn't it? It gives you closure. Closure is... da-da! That's the sound of closure within World of Warcraft, folks. When you complete a quest, when you hand it in, that little noise, and the little reward, and the clinking of gold, and the acquisition of an item. That's ultimate closure right there. You started your adventure, you finished your adventure, you achieved something, and that, as they say, is that. And of course, that only really matters to the most casual of people, but I think the cool thing about DDO is that it does the same thing, but it appeals to a slightly more hardcore crowd. Yeah? Because everything in DDO is also, for the most part, I think there are some exceptions, like dungeons within dungeons, they do actually exist, but for the vast majority of quests, what you get is a self-contained adventure. It's more to the point, it's a handcrafted self-contained adventure. And in that case, it goes back to the same way that questing works within WoW. There is a quest giver, he has a problem, you talk to the quest giver, you go to a certain location. Except in DDO, vast majority of the time, there are some exceptions, but the vast majority of the time, you enter a door, or some kind of gate or portal or manhole that has a little orange swirly thing on it. Little squiggle, swirly thing. Kind of looks like the Dreamcast logo. So you go into Dreamcast Dungeon, and Dreamcast Dungeon will then display a menu, and it will say, this is the level of this adventure. This is what you will expect here. This might be a challenging adventure, which requires you to do a party. That's actually something that I found rather amusing. A few days ago, I decided I'm going to go to the Necropolis and try and record an adventure for you guys and show it to you. And then I realized the dungeon I'd gone into was actually impossible to do without a party. And you might think, oh, well, you're just not good enough. No, it was literally impossible to do. There were switches that people had to throw at the same time. Your party actually had to split up, throw those switches at the same time, and it was impossible to solo. You could not do it. You couldn't even do it with hirelings, as far as I'm aware. You had to have other people with it. And the majority of quests in DDO are not like that, but there are some in there, certainly. The weird thing about DDO, I suppose, is the fact that dungeons, in the way that you would expect them to be in WoW, and questings, the lines blur between them, to the point where actually there really isn't a difference between them. Because all of this questing is done in an instance, everything is a dungeon. And for God's sake, it's Dungeons and Dragons. Why would it not? Why would it not be? So in this case, you can do the dungeons solo, or you can do them as a group, and by default there are 4 difficulty levels available for pretty much every quest. Again, some exceptions, but for most of them. And for some of them there's also a 5th, which is basically heroic, yeah? At maximum level, you can do that dungeon again on epic difficulty, which is the same as heroic. You have to be level 20 to do it, and of course it yields all manner of rewards, and it's really hard! Incredibly difficult. There are still plenty of dungeons at that level. You can go in there to acquire gear and all sorts of things. Guild Renown, for instance. I mean, guilds in DDR, I think, have like 100 levels. It takes much longer to get through that. Oh yeah, and guild airships. Yes. Something I was hoping for WoW. It's like, why can we not have a guild something? No, you're not allowed that. Well, that sucks. Oh well. Anyway, back to the point, I suppose. The idea of the self-contained adventure. It's self-contained in the fact that it is scripted, it's got voice acting in it, pretty much all the time. Not all of it, but most of it. In the form of the Dungeon Master that says, well, this is why you're here, and then advances the storyline along. And it seems cheesy, but it helps. It really, really does. It brings the immersion factor to the fore on that one. And it, once again, gives you the impression that you are in a self-contained adventure, because that's exactly what it is. A dungeon within DDO is basically an adventure that you would have in a tabletop. But it's much shorter most of the time. Obviously, doing the kind of things that you did in DDO in the tabletop and pen and paper versions of Dungeons and Dragons would take hours. In Dungeons and Dragons Online, you can do it in about 10-15 minutes, maybe, because, of course, it's all self-contained, and more to the point, it's in real time. There are longer dungeons and quests, certainly. But you get the point. So what happens? Well, because you are able to do that, and because you then get a satisfying conclusion, usually you get treasure chests at the end of it. And because they don't really do random loot drops in the same way as WoW, it feels more exciting. It's the same thing, but it's delivered in a different way, and actually that delivery is what makes all the difference. For instance, you can get random green drops in dungeons, and of course you can get random blues and things like that, and you get boss drops. But DDO doesn't really do it that way. DDO does it all from chests. And chests appear when you complete certain objectives, and usually when you beat the dungeon. You don't get random drops in the same way. Sure, some monsters do drop little collectible bags, and usually they've got collectibles which can be handed into various vendors in order to gain rewards, but most of the time, the loot that you get is from chests. And even the experience you get from dungeons and quests in DDO is actually the end of the quest. Because you don't earn experience in the same way, and you don't earn loot the same way. And I think that because of that, it gives massive advantage to DDO in terms of that sense of closure, going back to that old idea of what questing was in WoW. The old vanilla idea of a self-contained adventure. The loot and the experience that you all get in one go at the end of a quest. You get no experience from killing monsters, folks. You don't. You get no experience from doing that whatsoever. None. None at all. You get it all at the end. And it's all calculated by a scorecard, and you can see where it came from. And you get more experience if you do the dungeon in a better way. And even you get all your loot at the end, and you loot the chest, and your whole party's like, ooh, what's in the chest? What am I going to get? And of course, everybody gets loot. You don't have to roll against other people. Everyone gets their own set of loot from that. It's like, yeah, this is great. That was the end of our adventure. That was the really cool thing. And once you hand it in, and even actually once you've done the quest, and once you go to do the hand-in, you then get randomly generated loot at the end. I suppose it's kind of, I don't know, it's weird, isn't it? Because I think I can see both sides of the argument. When you're doing a quest and you know that there's going to be a good item at the end that you need, I suppose you feel more motivated to do it. But I think the exciting thing about questing in DDO is that more often than not, the quest giver will randomly generate some of the loot. Sure, some quests will definitely reward you with a choice of things that were there by default. Like, for instance, anyone that's played through the low levels knows about the nicked weapons, yeah? The nicked longsword, the nicked heavy mace, the nicked short sword, and so forth. Those are there for a really good reason. Really good reason. Because, of course, they're designed to make sure that by that point you actually have a really good weapon. But the vast majority of them, they're not preset. And it'll generate like 6 or 7 different things. Like, for instance, one I did earlier, I generated some stuff, I was like, oh, look, it just generated me a +3 heavy mace. That's actually really useful. But I could look through this stuff, well, I could take the +3 heavy mace, or I could maybe take the +1 heavy mace of something, which has got a special ability, so maybe that might be good, I don't know. Or I can just not do that at all. I can take Guild Renown, which is just Guild Experience. I can hand it in if there's nothing else that I want there. So that's what it comes down to, folks. DDO takes the idea of WoW questing, and it takes it all the way beyond what WoW has done with it. It knows why people prefer adventures in that format, and it expands on it, and it perfects it, in my opinion. Because I don't know of a game that has questing better than DDO. As far as I'm concerned, that game does not exist yet. DDO has the best questing in any MMO ever. And it's all because of the way that it's structured, and the way that the rewards are distributed, and the way that everything is self-contained. In every way, even mechanically, it's self-contained. It is an instance. Everything is self-contained. And once you've done a quest, you can log off and feel completely satisfied with your play experience. My name is TotalBiscuit. You are listening to Blue Please right here on CynicalBrit.com with myself, TotalBiscuit. So good that I said it twice. A reminder, folks, donations for Nordrassil Radio to help them go to DreamHack. Head over to nordrassilradio.com. There's a donate button there. They're currently, I believe, out of €75 out of the 600 they need. So thanks for your generosity. If you've got any dollars lying around, just some spare change in PayPal, feel free to donate to Nordrassil Radio. In the meantime, I think I'm going to play you some Avantasia. Why not? It's called The Looking Glass. Enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuning in to Blue Please right here on CynicalBrit.com with myself, TotalBiscuit, the illusion of choice. Okay, folks. I have some. I'm going to have a look through and see what's worth a while. Nope, that's rubbish. Just having a look through these emails. Had a few come in during the break. Thought, maybe these are reasonable. That's an advice thing. I don't do advice. Not anymore. Nope, that's rubbish. Rubbish. Good lord. These are all actually terrible. Every one of these is awful. Every last one of them. That's so sad. Every guy that's emailed in today, I was thinking, oh, maybe there'll be another good one. No. They're all awful. Every one of them is terrible. They're either asking for advice or they're things that I certainly can't talk about. So there you go. I am turning to the chat room. Because the rest of you are useless. Absolutely terrible. Okay, so... to the chat room. No, I'm not talking about the Warhammer 40,000 MMO, because there's no information about it. And no, it's not mailbox@cynicalbrit.com. If you've been emailing into that, you're an idiot. It's themurloc@gmail.com. Like a bunch of people emailed in there. I wonder if there's anything decent to hear. Let's see. No. It's all about console gaming. No. So, you can PM me. I will pick one. Yes, I know the spam's going to be horrible. You can PM me on IRC and I will pick one from there. Because nobody that emailed in had a reasonable thing. Speak slower, FFS. Learn to listen faster. It's not my fault that you listen too slowly. I do not speak too quickly. Let's see what we've got. We're not talking about esports. It's a freaking WoW show, for God's sake. We don't care about StarCraft 2 on this show. Nobody does. Let's see. Rant about the lion some more. No, I've already ranted about the lion. That's not a question. That's not spam. There's nothing to say about DreamHack other than I will be there. Will the Star Wars MMO kill WoW? No. The only thing that will kill WoW is WoW. Hellgate reboot. Oh my god. And the Mythos reboot. Colour me not so enthusiastic about Hellgate, which was already a fairly grindy game to begin with. It had a pretty good setting going for it, but it was pretty damn grindy, and it wasn't an amazing game by any stretch of the imagination. Being picked up by a Korean company and being relaunched as a free-to-play. Why would this enthuse me? Somebody please try and explain this. That is a terrible idea. It's like, oh my god, Hellgate's coming back. Like, oh, yeah, but look who's developing it. Oh my god, no. Absolutely not. What else do we have? Portable gaming and tablets. Don't care. A threat to PCs. It's not a threat to PCs, because they're not powerful enough, and you don't have a mouse and keyboard on them. As simple as that. It's no more of a threat to PCs than the iPad is. Does the iPad have a keyboard and mouse? No? Then I'm not going to use it. What else do we have? League of Legends has absolutely nothing to do with World of Warcraft. Talk about Diablo 3. No, because there's nothing to talk about. Diablo 3 is coming out. It's probably coming out this year. A lot of it will be shown at the one and only BlizzCon. I would predict that the release date will be announced at BlizzCon. I would predict the release date will be sometime late November. Maybe early December. But I would put money on Diablo 3 being out this year. Aside from that, I will play Diablo 3, I will cover Diablo 3, and I have nothing else to say on the matter. What else do we have? Yes, this is a rapid-fire illusion of choice right here. I'm giving the illusion that I'm actually going to spend more than 30 seconds on these questions. That's a lot of spam right there. Bloodline Champions, don't care, nothing to do with WoW. Am I going to play WoW again? If it's not terrible, why don't I play Lotro? Because it's too much like World of Warcraft, and I don't want a WoW clone right now. We're talking about freemium games versus subscription-based cash shop. That's actually there we go, that's a good question, I like that. Freemium is a good word. No doubt I'll get annoyed with it eventually, but still. Freemium is an interesting business model, isn't it? Because it's what DDO has, and other games are going that way as well. So, freemium, if I understand it correctly, he's telling me that that's cash shop versus monthly subscriptions. I mean, to me, the idea of freemium is if you have the choice of either playing the game with microtransactions or by paying with a monthly subscription, but that both methods are equally viable. So, to me, that's actually a way of choosing how you want to consume the content. For instance, if I was an extremely casual player of DDO and I only played for a very short period of time every month, then to me, a subscription would not be worthwhile. So, I would want to play for free, which I can do. However, here's the thing about the DDO model is kind of weird, and actually it's also kind of cool in the process, because you can play that game entirely for free, but it's going to take you a lot of time to do it. You're going to have to grind. Because everything you can acquire in the cash shop, with the exception of like boosts and things like that, can also be gotten in-game. The most important thing actually about that is leveling sigils. Leveling sigils are required to get past certain level points, and you can get them with drops by basically grinding for them, or you can just buy them. Or, of course, if you happen to be subscribed, you don't need them at all. That's 3 ways. There's the free-to-play way, there's the microtransaction way, and there's the premium way, the subscription way. And the subscription way is a traditional style of subscription. It's just like World of Warcraft or any other game. I pay, I think it's, how much am I paying at the minute? I think the 3-month plan is $10 a month. I'm fairly sure I paid $29.97 for 3 months worth of subscription, if I remember correctly. So yeah, $10 a month if you buy 3 months at a time. I think it's about $13, $14 otherwise. So, isn't that an interesting model? There's also another way of getting around it, and that's by having friends. You might wonder, well, what happens if you don't pay? Well, some of the content is actually premium, so a lot of the quests and adventures are premium. The thing is, you can get to level 20 without buying any content. And you can either do that by repeating dungeons, and of course the game does have a system whereby you can do that, because of course it's got 4 difficulty levels. And you can earn the maximum amount of experience by doing a dungeon in the most optimal way. For instance, finding all the breakables, discovering all the hidden areas, disarming all the traps, killing all of the monsters, including all of the hidden ones, doing all the side objectives and things like that. You get bonuses for that, so it's funny. If you're playing for free, you're actually encouraged to do so in the most optimal way possible. But then again, there's another way of doing it, because DDO is often designed to be played with other people, so what you have is a system whereby other people could buy you a guest pass, and it's very, very cheap. It's using the cash shop currency, which is turbine points, and you can get a guest pass for somebody, and once they go into the dungeon, they basically got an hour to clear it out. And that works too. And if you've got friends that subscribe to the game, or otherwise just buy turbine points, and they're willing to be generous, they can buy you a guest pass. It won't cost them much. It costs like about 10 or 15 turbine points, which is, isn't it, what, 500 turbine points for $5 or something like that? Remember correctly? I don't know. I actually do not know how much is a turbine point. Let us find out. Oh yes, 400 turbine points is actually $6.50, so that... what does that work out? Yeah, 64 turbine points to the dollar. So you're looking maybe about 20, 25 cents if you buy them in that denomination. So it's not a lot. Plus also when you gain favor points, you can gain turbine points that way, and that's earned in-game, so... it's just really interesting, isn't it, to see how many ways there are to approach delivering content to someone, and I think that's actually what makes DDO successful. I think people aren't really aware of this, but I'm fairly sure that DDO actually has about 3 million players. That's what I was hearing, anyway. I'm gonna have to have a look. I'm fairly sure it is. Yeah, Ars Technica actually has an article. Behold the power of free. There we go. I want to see if it actually tells you. Do they have numbers here? I know they said they tripled their profits by doing that. And that's an interesting thing to look at as well, because when you have people that subscribe to another game, it's really hard to get them to also subscribe to your game. It's problematic, isn't it? And the funny thing is, this is an interesting number from 2009 here, from an Ars Technica article. Since they went free to play in 2009, their subscriptions actually increased by 40%. They got 40% more subs, yeah? And that's subscribers. I'm not talking about free-to-play players here. It's really interesting. I'm just very surprised a lot more games aren't going along this model. Yep, 14th of May 2010, DDO is the third most played MMO on the market right now, according to the NPD annual surveys. WoW players make up 30% of MMO players, RuneScape 10%, DDO 7%. Interesting. It also said that WoW players are looking at different games. In 2010, 11% of WoW players actually went and tried DDO. Huh. According to that survey, of course. We don't know how accurate that really is. That's interesting. So, I think the conclusion to make... Oh, yeah, there's another one from Engage Digital. Yeah. February 26, 2010, since it relaunched in September 2009, gained over 1 million new players. Overall DDO revenue has increased 500% since the release of the Eberron Unlimited model. It works. And actually a lot of other games going that way. They made Lotro that way, and Age of Conan is doing that too. I know Age of Conan made a level 3 at any point, but I just think it's a really good model. And what it comes down to is, look, we accept that you might be on a limited budget right now, and we're willing to make concessions to allow you to experience the content in a number of different ways. We're going to give you the choice as to how that happens. And to me, that seems like a much fairer model. To me, that's doing right by your customers, as opposed to World of Warcraft, which is like, well, you have to pay $15 a month in order to play, and here's all these other services that also cost money. Whereas DDO is like, well, here's these services and items and things that cost money, but all of these are actually available in the game anyway if you want to go and work for them. It's up to you. You could subscribe, or you could not. You could play for free, and you could repeat some of the content to make sure you can level up and grind for the leveling sigils, or you can have friends give you stuff, or you can buy the adventure packs you want to do, and you can just avoid buying the ones that you don't. It's pretty good, isn't it? It's pretty good. I like it. I think it's very sensible. I think that more companies should follow that. And hell, eventually I'd expect Blizzard to. It's going to take them a while, but I think they will. Squeeze the last little bit of milk juice out of that dying cow that we call World of Warcraft. Not that that's going to die for another couple of years yet, but it's getting there. It will eventually go down. It'll go the way of any other MMO. But I feel that it will kill itself. It will not be killed by other games. Right, folks. I've got a few minutes left for shoutouts, so send them in to themurloc@gmail.com. That is themurloc@gmail.com. Alternatively, you can PM me on IRC with your shoutout, or send me a tweet, if you like. Sounds like a good idea. But some people saying, I hate it. I don't want to buy content piecemeal. You don't have to, as I clearly explained. That's the wonderful thing about choice. And if people don't listen, well, that's their own problem, isn't it? Oh my. Okay. A shout-out comes in for the Dark Chaos. Or indeed from Dark Chaos to Dark Chaos's girlfriend. They have a 1-year anniversary today. Congratulations for not killing each other. A shout-out to myself and Jesse Cox for making me buy Terraria instead of paying for my mobile phone service this month. They could wait a few more weeks. Wow, you are irresponsible. That comes from Clankio or Twan. Oh dear. Shout out for Richter for getting Conclave of the Wind achievement before Blizzard nerfs it into the ground. Yes, indeed. What is this guy? This guy's a freaking idiot. I've got this guy on IRC, WFTTF, who keeps spamming about 40k. Play Dark Crusade, it's better than StarCraft. Get out! It's a terribly balanced game. Idiot. Good lord. Shout out to my friend Alexi, who turns 18 tomorrow. That's from Nils. Shout out to Scourgebane for giving the only real illusion of choice, indeed. A shout out to Intricacy for being the angry badger that sorted all the DreamHack stuff out. That's from Shami, yes, indeed. A shout out to Machete Squad for finally defeating Neff on normal after 78 attempts. That's some dedication right there. A shout out to TB for getting DDO. That's from Tiro. A shout out to all the haters, keep on tanking. That's from Tony G. A shout out to Immortal on Blade's Edge server for Gnome Rapuns giving up on raiding. That's from Alex Power. And a shout out to the Guild IX. I believe that's also 9 in Roman numerals on Twisting Nether Horde EU. That's from Will Game for Gold. A shout out to the bacon in all the world. That's from Vigilant Penguin. And a shout out to all the kids that have summer break. Ugh, that's kind of scary. And a shout out to all the good free MMO games online. Well, all 2 of them. That's from Striker Slash. And a shout out to Shakita for being up all night to tune in for the first time. I'm done. I'm out of here, folks. Thank you very much. Remember to donate to Nordrasil Radio to help them get to DreamHack. They are a volunteer organisation. They very much need it. Head over to nordrasilradio.com, find the donation link, pop it in right there. It's the way to do it, folks. What shall we go out on? I'm sure I can find something right here. What have we got? There are yes. I think more Turasas. I haven't played enough of the new Turasas, you know that? That's got to be sorted out. I think we're going to fix that immediately. Let's go find that. Yes, Stand Up and Fight is the name of this particular album. You know what? I'm going to play the title track. Good night.